Hey there, welcome back to the Fireside chat. I got a fire going here. I don't know how much longer it's gonna last. It's really windy today, if you can't tell. But I don't want to be pushing my luck too much there. Um, got my cardboard weighted down with some bigger pieces, so hopefully it ain't gonna be blown anywhere. But yeah, it'll probably go out, and I will probably just let it be. But I'm sorry if the wind is too much. I'm hoping it's not. I like to be outside if I can. Um, but anyway, you didn't hear me to talk. You didn't click on the video to hear me talk about the weather. So this week I wanted to talk about totaling your vehicle, specifically talking about the maroon beast that I alluded to last week. This is like hopefully the last vehicle story I have for you for a while. But anyway, to kind of set the scene here. Let's see here. When was this? 2023, I believe. Yeah, September 2023. I have this maroon, reddish color, whatever, maroonish, Chevy 1500 extended cab. The thing was also quite a piece of work. I remember whenever I drove that thing home, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it home. It was interesting. There was one day I had to roll through the gate and back on Fort Bliss in El Paso. It was overheating as I was going through the gate and getting my ID checked by the gate guards. So luckily they let me pull over for 5 minutes or whatever. And I was just like, you know what? I'm a couple minutes down the road. I'll push my luck. I made it home and was able to Instacart a hose. There was a cracked hose. Anyway, that's not the story I'm talking about. But that's what we're dealing with in this situation. But you know, after a couple months or so, I was able to get it in a decent condition, and this story picks up in September 23. I got it in October of 22, so it made it almost a year. But I'm getting ready to start this class called Master Resilience Training. I was so excited for it, man. I was so hyped. I'd wanted to take that class for a long time, and I was finally in the rank that I was supposed to be able to go to the class, and my command let me go and got signed up for it. And at the time, just some more context for the story, I was working on paying off my debt, and I was close. I had about $3,000 left. But it was, you know, if you ever done that, it's a grind, man. It can be grueling. So, like, I was excited because I was close to the end, but I was pretty in the rut there, if that makes any sense. But like, this class was the one thing I was excited about, and it's the first day. I was supposed to be there at 8 o'clock for orientation, and we start class or whatever. So I leave the barracks at around 6, and just to make sure, you know, I hadn't been there yet into the building, so I wanted to make sure I left at a good time. It was about 20 minutes away, and I had some time to chill and relax before class started, you know, all that good stuff. So I'm heading there, you know, just, you know, I have a tendency to have a bit of a lead foot, and not that day. I was just slowly cruising, the 35 mile an hour speed limit on Fort Bliss, sometimes 25. I was just enjoying my morning, man. And we're going along. I'm about halfway there. I turned left from the stoplight, and I'm driving. And there's this little car parked at a stop sign that it's not like a four-way stop or anything. I have a clear right of way, and they're like trying to pull on either way, either direction of the road. And I see them budge for a minute. I'm just like, okay, they stopped. It's like, did they? Please don't. And they did. They just kept going right into me, into the side of my truck. And, I see them as this is happening. So I try to accelerate to kind of get ahead of them, because I was like, so they're here, I'm coming, and that, boom, just like that. So I try to accelerate to get around them, swerving to the left a little bit, but I couldn't get around them. So they T-boned me in the back passenger side tire wheel well area. And like, she hit the gas, like she was trying to get up and go. So she hits me, and I'm trying to. There was another car coming the other direction, as a 2-lane road works. And I tried to skirt around them, but also avoid them. And yeah, didn't work out. So after they hit me, they hit this other car as well, and I kind of lost control of the truck, but I tried to hold on and like guide it off the road. I got it off the road, out of the way, and was able to come to a stop without anything else happening. And they were still able to drive their vehicle. They were able to pull off on the road. And anyway, so I'm just like, what the crap, man? Why today of all days? But I just took a deep breath, and I was like, all right, I'm okay. And I got out, look at my truck real quick. It screwed up, dude. Like the whole rear axle. Like, let's see here if I can get a visual. This is the rear axle. It was like that way, and all kinds of jacked up. But so, I'm just like, all right, well. So I run up to the car that hit me, and I checked out their vehicle real quick. And they opened the door, and I was just like, hey, are y'all okay? Is everything all right? Y'all good? Luckily, they were fine. They were okay. And then I went back to the third car, and they barely got nicked, but they still got hit. But he was out talking to me, and he was all good. So it was really fortunate that everyone was okay in this situation. It could have. There's no telling how wrecks can go. It could, people die all the time from wrecks, obviously. But anyway, so I'm sitting there, and after everyone's checks on each other and we're all good, and I just call up my insurance, be like, hey, just got in a wreck. What information do y'all need? And she's talking to me, and like, oh, well, when did this happen? I was like, oh, just now. Like, oh, okay, this just happened. Like, yeah, and we're waiting on the cops to get here. And they're like, oh, okay. You feel okay giving a statement right now? And I was like, yeah. So I tell them what happened, and they're like, dude, I can't believe how calm you are. I was like, thanks, whatever. We were all safe. That's what mattered. And after a couple hours, tow truck comes and gets. My vehicle was the only one totaled, but they came and The other cars left. I'm sitting there on the side of the road. And the tow truck finally comes and drag my truck onto this thing. They're like, all right, well, come to this location. This is where we'll drop it, and you can come get your crap. So I got some stuff, the important things, but I have to call the instructor of this class or the class manager and be like, hey, I've gotten a wreck. I'm not gonna be able to make it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'd love to have you back if you can make it to a future class. And I was like, yeah, thanks. So I got that taken care of, and I think I called someone from my unit, and I was waiting on them to come get me. Luckily, they were able to come pick me up and take me back to work, to regular work. But while I was waiting, I called my mom, and then I started, I was starting to freak out and whine about it a bit. And I was just like, what the hell am I gonna do? I was so close to paying off my debt, and now this happens. I'm gonna have to get another vehicle and all this. And she's just like, Jeremy, calm down. Something to that effect. It's like, I know. And anyway, my friend came and picked me up and went back to work right after. The MP's military police called me to get a statement, or to tell me that I can pick up the police report. I filled out a statement while they were there. But yeah, and then as the week goes on, I'm talking to my insurance, Geico. They were working on the claim and doing an assessment of all the damage and all that. And a week goes by, and they call me the next week and say that it's worth it was like $7,300, $7,300, and that's after the deductible cost. And dude, I was so happy. I'd paid I think $3,500 for that thing, and I got something. It was almost, or math hard, about double what I paid for it. And I got the deposit in my account in like 2 days later. I was so happy. I was able to pay off the last $3,000 of debt that I had and get a different vehicle. That's the white truck that y'all heard about last week. We called it White Lightning. And I guess this one's the Maroon Beast. Anyway, and thankfully my buddy Dobie, if he ends up watching this, I appreciate you, man. He helped me go to the junkyard where we threw that old thing and get the last of my crap, and helped me find a new vehicle and all that good stuff. I got another. You know what? I got one more truck story for the next video, and then that'll be the end of the vehicle drama saga. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. I appreciate him. But anyway, that's the story. I'm going to take a moment to repile the fire back together. I won't add too much to it. It's actually still going. But I'm going to regroup the fire, and then we'll talk about some of the lessons that I took away from it. I'll be right back. All right. Got the fire picked back up and the dogs inside. They've been good this whole time, but they heard the neighbor dogs and they were getting excited. But back to some of the lessons that I try to take away from that. The first one is staying calm in the chaos of whatever you're going through. This is one thing I think I somewhat did right. In the moment, or whenever it was actually happening, I was trying to be really non-reactive in a way. And that's something like the insurance lady I was talking to, she commented on. She's like, I don't know how you're so calm. And I was like, yeah, thanks, whatever. But when I called my mom, I did start to freak out a bit, and I was just like, ugh. And your fight or flight response is triggered in these moments, and our bodies, our brain is hardwired to do that, to protect you so you can survive, to focus on the negative. But in our lives today, a lot of the time it's your brain is misidentifying something. So if you can stay calm, if you can fight your flight or fright response and stay calm in the moment, you can make a lot better decisions. And typically people will have a lot of respect for you if you can do that. Not saying that should be what other people's thoughts about you should be your prime motivator or anything, but it's a added bonus, really. And it can also, your fight or flight response can also prevent you from taking meaningful action, especially if your response is flight. Or I know a lot of people throw in a third option, freeze. If your reaction is to freeze, then it's not going to go well. So if you can fight your instincts there, it can be hard to do the first couple of times, but just like with anything, if you can practice it in at a small scale, it can really benefit you whenever the real moment comes. And in that, also just controlling the controllables. You can't, like in that situation, I couldn't control what another driver did. All I could do is control what my response was to it. And for the most part, that is what I focused on. I tried to make sure that the other people were okay. That's what I could do in that moment. And I wasn't rude or anything to them. Now, I'm not saying if someone deserves some rudeness for you, that you shouldn't. Now, certainly, there's many situations where if you can keep a calm head, it'll serve you well. But like, even if you need to physically respond to something, you should have a calm head. You shouldn't be freaking out or just being angry. Because when you act out of emotion, you'll do things you'll regret. It's that simple. And last little sub point on this larger point. If you can be kind in unfortunate situations, it'll also serve you well. And like, a lot of people's natural response is to get angry, to be mad. And I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but a lot of the times the situation definitely doesn't require it, and it doesn't help anything if you're just being an obnoxious, rude person. just doesn't help. And you know, if in those moments, if you can try to take a look from someone else's perspective, sometimes it's being too generous, but a lot of times people don't mean to do harm to you. That's a lot of the times it's just an unfortunate situation where they misjudged something, and like that girl, it was a teenage girl with her mom. She was learning to drive, and she made a bad judgment call, or she also wore glasses, so I don't know how much that played a role. But she wasn't like she meaningfully T-boned my truck. It was a mistake, and there needs to be accountability, but you don't have to yell and scream and have a mean heart about it. But anyway, all that kind of wraps up into staying calm in chaotic situations. And then the second thing that I took from it is God can take unfortunate situations and turn them into something beautiful. Like the prime part of that in my mind is the fact that my insurance company somehow valued that thing at twice what I paid for it. And I know some companies will be like, oh, we'll pay for a model year newer or whatever. I don't know if that was part of my policy. Maybe it was. But I wasn't expecting it. And part of staying calm is trusting that it's going to be okay. And that God's got you. And goodness, did he have my back that day. And the subsequent days following it. Without that, if I had to come up with a couple $1,000s to find a vehicle, I could have done it in a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on stuff that was the vehicles that were available. And he just took so much of that burden away and was able to help me pay off my debt that I'd been working on for over 2 years, or almost 2 years at that point. Man, that was such a blessing to be rid of that. And you just, before you freak out, something I'm I have to remind myself of all the time. Before you freak out and could start catastrophizing whatever situation, just take some deep breaths and really just think about, all right, this terrible situation that I'm thinking of in my head, is that what's really happening? Is that reality? Is that what's playing out in front of me? A lot of times it's not. It's just what you think is the logical product of the current situation. But a lot of times you can find aspects of that you can control and prevent the catastrophe from happening in the future. You can be like, okay, Lord, help show me how I can take this bad situation and turn it into something good. It's not always going to be, oh, I got a $7,000 check for my truck. Sometimes you have to put in work for it. And like I would argue, me paying off my debt, selling the truck that I had financed, and getting that paid for vehicle was putting in the work that later God used to pay off for me. But yeah, again, we are hardwired to focus on the negative to try to survive, and you have to intentionally have different thoughts with a different perspective. I know my mother will appreciate hearing that, because she was telling me that the other day. And I was just like, dang, you're right. This is something I've told other people that I should pay attention to, remind myself of. But anyway, then the last point is, what if that truck was financed? Like, what if, shoot, my current truck, what if that thing ends up getting T-boned? You know, that thing's in the hole as far as equity goes. Am I going to get all that money back? You know, I haven't had to deal with this situation myself, so maybe, you know, the insurance company will be like, okay, how much you owe on it, and they'll just pay that off. Maybe. I don't know. It's not guaranteed. You know, when you're in these situations, a lot of times you're at the behest of someone else. Someone else has control of the situation, and you just have to kind of deal with it and react to it as you can. But if that's the situation, then I put myself in a hard spot, you know. Instead of, oh, whatever, it just puts you in such a different mentality. If you have a vehicle that's paid off and you get in a wreck and it's like, all right, I'll figure it out. You know, if it's financed, then you have a whole bunch of other crap to think about and consider and worry about. And some of it, a good bit of it, you can't control yourself. And that, you know, it's not a good situation to be in. So it really just kind of makes you think about the decisions you make as far as whether you're going to finance something or pay for it in cash or whatever the deal is. You know, having debt isn't worth it. I told you last week about the ordeal with that current truck, so I won't repeat it, but anyway, that's what I got for today. I appreciate y'all watching. If you made it this far in the video, one of these days I'll have the cigars back. I'm out of them for the moment. But you know, them things are expensive. You got to be careful about when you pick them up and which ones you get. But they'll be back one of these days. Fire's quietly smoldering over there. I imagine you didn't hear much popping and crackling because of all the wind. I hope it wasn't too annoying for you. I'm gonna try to be close to my microphone and speaking into it and all that good stuff. But anyway, I'll see y'all again next week. That should be the last of our unfortunate vehicle saga, whatever I called it a minute ago. But we'll do that story, and because it's a good one. It has some valuable lessons in it as well. And my good friend, he'd want me to call him Xander now, but my good buddy Dobie. It'd be a good one. Anyway, I'll shut up. Y'all have a great week. I love you. Bye.